Welcome to the show. And while most of the media is focused on Stormy Daniels as well as hashtag Who Bit Beyonce, here's what's happening now. Political pop coming up in the show. This week we'll talk about the help that's available to immigrants, but if they take it, it can prevent them from becoming permanent residents here in the U.S. Also on deck is In Our World. All things are equal? Well, not if you are a black man in America. We'll talk about a new report that came out, and it crushes many of the myths for why black men are not being treated equal. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about this past weekend, the March for Our Lives. Huge success. We're talking 800 cities across the globe. 800 cities. It's amazing to see how these young students have stood up for change. And they are continuing the fight. And many want to know what's next for these young activists. Well, change is a marathon and not a sprint, and they are in it for the long haul. Their next focus is the midterm elections. In fact, they're saying 40,000 people, this is what reports are saying, 40,000 people were able to register to vote at the March for Our Lives. And the young people, they're moving forward and they're making it their goal to get more high school students registered to vote. And who are they voting for? They're voting for candidates that believe in gun reform and not the NRA. Congratulations to all of the students as well as everyone that is standing together to support the students. Parents, teacher, friends, family, neighbor, everybody just coming together to make a change in our world. Also this week, Linda Brown passed away at age 76. Linda Brown was the little girl who changed the school system of our nation. The Supreme Court case Brown versus the Board of Education made it illegal to continue to have segregation in U.S. schools. Also this week, police officers involved in the killing of Alton Sterling. Many are very upset about this because these officers will not be charged. The Louisiana Attorney General said that they were reasonable in their actions and that the officers involved were lawful. Obviously, the family, the community, many are very devastated to hear this because of the video that they've seen. It's hard for us to watch that video and see how it is legal. You might remember Alton Sterling was selling CDs outside of a convenience store. The owner of that store said that he gave Alton permission to sell CDs there. He also said that from his view, he did not see Alton reach for a gun. Well, police officers say that he did. They also say that after tasing him 2 times, that's when he went for the gun. And that's when they shot him repeatedly. Really, I should say one officer. One officer held him down. The other one shot him repeatedly. Authorities now are saying that new video is going to come out, that they'll be releasing this video. And they also say that because there was drugs in his system, that could have resulted in him resisting arrest. But many in our community feel that fear led to them shooting and killing him. Let's be honest, we've seen other arrests where women and men have fought police, slapped police, and their arrest didn't result in being shot repeatedly at close range. So it's clear that often in our society, we see one thing on these videos, but the law says something else. So clearly, we must work to change our laws. From Alton Sterling, we'll have to go to Sacramento, California right now and talk about Stephon Clark, another father. This 22-year-old was shot and killed in his grandmother's backyard, armed with a cell phone, not armed at all. Police there shot him, reports are saying, 20 times. They then waited 5 minutes before administering any life-saving techniques from calling any help. And the other thing too, the video shows us that the officers never identified themselves as police officers. Can't imagine what it's like for the family, to be laying their family member, their loved one, to rest as they read these headlines. And I know that they're hoping and praying that justice will be served. Now let's head to Atlanta. Residents there can't pay their water bill, parking tickets. Government shut down because they can't use computers at all. They have to do everything manually because of yet another cyber attack. Ransomware to blame again. Now, we talked about this, I want to say a few months ago. Remember, we talked about a situation similar in Ohio? This is a new form of cyber attack where they're shutting down governments by taking over their computer systems. Residents paying water bills by hands. Imagine parking tickets over the last couple of years. Small towns and now a major city taken over by ransomware. And now it's time for Political Pop for Friday, March 30th. The Department of Homeland Security is considering denying citizenship to immigrants who accept help from the government. Well, what kind of help are we talking about? We're talking about welfare, food stamps, and also if they accept the Earned Income Tax Credit. Again, this is a proposal. However, it has many immigrants very, very fearful, especially if they need help and are looking to obtain legal citizenship. I'm DanellaNOW, and that was your Political Pop. Let's talk about Facebook just for a moment because everyone's wondering if Mark Zuckerberg is going to actually show up to Congress and answer tough questions like, why are you selling our personal data? Okay, so if you're not following this, I have to mention it because I'm asking people when I see them, are you thinking of deleting Facebook? And the general answer I get is for what? So it helped me to see that a lot of people aren't following this story at all. You remember a couple shows back, I talked about Jim Carrey, and he deleted his account, dropped his stock. In fact, Facebook, speaking of dropping stocks, they're taking a nosedive in the stock market. Their stock really suffering from these new reports that have come out. So if you haven't followed, the situation is this. Facebook sold data to a company that works with the Trump administration when he was running for president. And they sold that data that then could enable them to market themselves by using our personal information. So the idea is if we sign up to, let's say, a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we're using these accounts and we're putting our personal information in, shouldn't we be notified when they sell our personal information to a third party without our permission? Shouldn't we know this? So I'm going around just asking people, this, that they did allow this information to be out. And in all fairness, Facebook they did release the information, but they did not know that the third party would then release it to the Trump administration. However, it breaks down. The point remains. We sign up. We, believe that these things are great for us, but we have to ask ourselves, nothing comes for free. And so then when you start seeing Facebook put up ads, you're like, okay, I get it. It's really not for free. There's lots of advertising. You're getting advertising dollars. Okay, it's all good. But you're still selling our personal information. I say us as in the people, like, you sell our personal information. Now it's got me super suspicious. So I'm not telling you to delete your Facebook account. You see, I still have one. I'm not super active. I always try to Facebook more, but it's still up there. But now I'm looking at other apps that are free. And like WhatsApp. I hate to say it because I was just recommending to my neighbor that she use WhatsApp so she can speak to her relatives in different countries for free without calling cards, trying to help her. And so it started me to think, WhatsApp is so great. I mean, I use it all the time. I can talk to one of my closest friends. She's in Kenya, can talk to her FaceTime, and our babies can see each other. So many people, everyone literally that I know, if they have a relative that lives in a different country, they use WhatsApp and they can video chat, not FaceTime, video chat with their friends, relatives all the time. So now I'm starting to wonder, are they selling our information too? Because they have phone numbers. Hope not. WhatsApp people don't kill me. But I'm saying it's this all of these things you don't even think about when you're signing up. You just kind of think, okay, this is a good source to stay connected. And then when the government's calling in people like Mark Zuckerberg, they're saying, oh, we're going to look at Google, we're going to look at Twitter and ask questions. It's got me really thinking about the other apps and, social media accounts that really have our information. It's interesting because all we really want is to be connected to one another. And so, in some way, if you want to be connected, it's like you have to acknowledge that you're giving up some of your freedom for privacy. Unless the rules change, that's pretty much what's happening right now. So the main thing is, wouldn't it be great if we could just be notified before we're putting in our information? Hey, sign up for this account. I'll provide you this service. And then in exchange, I'm going to use your information in this way. So I posed the question to you. Are you ditching Facebook? Just curious. Do you even care? Are you like, it's all good. They can sell my information. It's not a big deal to me. Maybe it's not. Because when I'm asking word of mouth, eye-to-eye contact, people are like, I didn't even really realize that happened. So anyway, I like to put this kind of stuff on the show to get your feedback, because so often stories like these are overshadowed by, as I said in the beginning of the show, #WhoBitBeyonce and Stormy Daniels. So yeah, are you ditching Facebook? And now it's time for In Our World. This week we're talking about racism in America, and a new report that blows away many of the ideas that you may have on racism in America. Now, this study was by Harvard and Stanford economists. They're saying that pretty much everyone else, if you look at Asians, Hispanics, white, everybody else has the chance to achieve upward mobility, but not so much if you're Black. And when they talk about upward mobility, they're speaking in terms of income. They're saying that Black children born from the bottom fifth of income earners have about 2.5% chance of reaching the top 5% of the income bracket. Now let's compare that to white children. They're saying white children have a 10.6% chance. So what if you're rich? Let's talk about that. You come from an affluent family. For white children, if their parents are at the top tier here in America, they are 5 times more likely to stay on top. But for Black men, they're saying no. They're saying as likely as they are to stay at the top, they're as likely to fall to the bottom. Can't talk about race in America without talking about incarceration. And for Black males, they are prime targets. Here's what this report says. It says that Black men raised by millionaires are likely to be incarcerated as white men raised by families earning $36,000 per year. So even if you are a millionaire and you're a Black man, your chances of being incarcerated are that of a white man whose whole family makes $36,000 a year. We'll continue. Another one, they're saying that white boys who grow up in the worst areas for economic mobility do better than Black boys who grow up in some of the best neighborhoods. In fact, for 99% of the neighborhoods in the U.S., Black males earn less as adults than white men who grow up in comparable neighborhoods with comparable families. So in this report, they're saying that the only area that Black men excel in, that surpass white men, is in the rate of incarceration. So my son's godmother sent me this article so I can read it and know what unfortunately this world is, and what my son will have to be dealing with, what he will face, regardless of the education we give him, regardless of the money that we give him. He still would have to fight all odds all the time, forever, period. So, in fact, there's no way to look at a study like this and say that America is equal. How can we say that? And this was a hard article to read because I'm somebody, I have to say it. There's a lot of brainwashing in my family. Definitely. I never really talk about it on the podcast before, but if you know me, you're a friend, you've heard some of the brainwashing expressed, because my family, I've mentioned it before, I was raised by my mother. My mother is biracial, and really by her being a teen mom, my grandmother was very vocal in raising us. And my grandmother, her family disowned her. She was white, and they disowned her once she became pregnant with my mother. For them, it was, what will the neighbors say about you having this black baby? And so I grew up really thinking that if you studied hard and you worked hard, because these are things that I did, I was able to fight out of poverty by, paying for myself to go to a great college and fighting for everything that I've ever had. And so I really believed that if you worked hard, if you got an education, that meant you would be equal and have a great life. And so as a mom, obviously, I've talked about this all the time, about that balance between what do you teach to your child, because I'm really always, just as an adult, always trying to break myself of what I call old programming, things that have been passed down, and open my mind up to new patterns that are great, for healthy behavior, for success. And so to see that I can give my child the best education, right? I can stay married and give him the best home. And as likely as he is to maintain the life that we have given him, he's equally as likely to lose everything for whatever reason. He's also more likely to not be paid his worth, according to where the world is now. And also, the only thing that is he's more likely, like most likely, this is what could happen to you, is incarceration. And all of this, this report came out, and I saw it, my like I said, my son's godmother sent me this article, but off of the heels of the Alton Sterling case, where the officers are not going to be prosecuted. Forget what we've seen. They're saying that, oh, there's some footage you haven't seen, and the officers acted reasonably, where everyone watching it is thinking he's pinned down. And I'm thinking it and looking at it that because they're saying now drugs were in his system, that because he's still moving, these officers are afraid. They want him just to go limp or something like that, so then they could continue to arrest him. Or some kind of way of securing Black men and not killing them. And even as we're watching, all eyes are now on Stephon Clark, wondering, what's going to happen to the officers involved there. Let's keep in mind so many things were done. The fact that they never even said, stop police, we are police, that's a problem. The fact that then after they shoot him, and this is what they're saying, they haven't even released an autopsy yet, but they shoot him 20 times in his grandmother's backyard where he lives. Okay. And you can hear a female officer say, basically asking for him to respond and saying, we can't send any help to you unless, we know you don't have any weapons. But you shot him so many times. What can he do? And then they wait 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And that's what everyone wants to know. Why did they wait 5 minutes before getting any help after they shot him so many times? Also, they mute everything. And so they're wondering, well, what was being said when they muted the audio? Why did they mute? If everything was okay, why did they mute? His family obviously is outraged. The community is outraged. The world is outraged. Stop killing us. Stop killing our Black men. Stop. It frustrates me so much. Sorry. It's like, I don't even know like what to do, but just say that if we're hearing that legally this is in the rights of humans, if we're hearing that, then clearly we need to take the lead from our young marchers. Take the lead and say, either you do what we feel as a community is best for us and represents us. Either you do that or we will vote someone in office that will. That's it. That is it. I feel like that is the only thing we can do. Besides, continue to never forget all of these innocent people that have been murdered. There has to be a way that even with fear, you're able to protect yourself without taking a life. There's no way you can say to me that I just can't see a justification for a lot of the videos that we've seen. Is crazy because in your mind you think of them as videos, but these are people, they're families, they are loved ones. And there's no amount of money, even if these families file wrongful death suits, lawsuits, there's no amount of money. I mean, if you've ever lost anybody, sorry. It's getting me so emotional just thinking about family members that I have lost. But there's no amount of money ever that you can be given to make you feel comfort for losing your relative. Zero amount of money ever. And so we have to not become desensitized to this. We can't let other media stories block out this story from being heard, to block these voices from being heard. We cannot let up. We must follow through and make sure that every case is investigated fairly and hold people accountable. If you feel that your community does not represent you, get your folks together, as many people as you can, and vote those people out. Vote them out. Get your people together and put yourself in. We're outraged. We're angry. And anger is good if we channel it into movement for change. So by us talking about it, by us putting that into action beyond talk, putting that into action, making sure that everyone is aware of what's going on in our country and how it's not isolated. It's not just your neighborhood that's happening in. It's not. It's across our country. And it's unique to our country. And we're supposed to be the leaders of the world. We're supposed to be so great. We're America. So, I would say, forgive me for being so passionate and getting emotional, but the truth is, this is why I have a podcast, so that I can be real and genuine and do what's in my heart, and not feel that that I can't speak truth or show emotion because an advertiser might get angry or somebody might get offended. Because I know if you're listening to this podcast, I know if you're watching on YouTube, I know that we are family and we are connected. So I know that I am amongst friends and family and can be safe in how I feel. So, with that, I thank you so much in joining me and coming back and being a part of this journey that I'm on. So, as always, thank you so much for joining the show. I hope you have an incredible weekend, and I will see you next week.